The Mount Olive Township Council Conference meeting is now in session of April 22nd, 2014. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Remain standing for a moment of reflection for our troops who keep us free. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lisa, would you read the Open Public Meetings Act?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Present.
Mr. Ferrante?
Here.
Mrs. Leybow? Mr. Perkins?
Excused.
Here.
Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Nicastro?
Here.
Mr. Maniac?
Here.
John, if I could, Sherry is not with us tonight because she had a emergency
Surgery.
health situation. I understand that she's doing well under the circumstances, and just wanted to wish her well at the beginning of the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Ray, would you make a motion to go into executive session?
Yes, Mr. President. In accordance with Section 7 and 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, I make a motion that we reserve ourselves into executive session for FOP SOA negotiations, minutes to be available upon the conclusion of the matter.
Second.
Was there a second?
Yes.
Danny.
Okay.
Well, Daniel or Leonard doesn't matter.
We'll come back. It'll only be short. We'll come back.
This will be a short session. We'll come back in here, stay in here. We're going to go to the other room. Thank you.
You guys get the comfortable chairs for a while.
Yeah, we don't want to.
You just call that.
Yeah, that's your job.
Just call it, Mr. President.
Okay. We're back in session of our Mount Olive Township Conference meeting of April 22nd, 2014. I see where Freeholder Lyons is here. And you know what? We're going to suspend the rest of the meeting and let him do his thing.
All right, hold on. Guess I'll go over here.
Suspended.
Car didn't catch on fire tonight?
No, fortunately it did not. Yeah, that was good. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, for having me here tonight. The Freeholder Board is trying to make as much of an effort as possible to go out to all 39 municipalities and build up lines of communication. And in that vein, I actually want to start by giving you all my cell phone number if you want to take it down. It's 201-953-5513. We really want to get to the point where any one of you feel like you could call any one of us on the phone if you have a problem, so feel free to take advantage of that. And but so the mayor is happy, I will go as quickly as possible and start right away. The 2014 budget. This year, for the second year in a row, the Freeholder Board's goal on the budget was to achieve a 0% tax increase while maintaining all of the vital critical services that the county provides. And I am pleased to announce that in April we did just that. We introduced the second budget in a row that had a 0% tax increase. When you combine it with a $1.2 million cut in our open space tax, our net county taxes actually decreased 0.5%. And I want to pause for one moment and talk about open space. Currently, the county has $57 million in unencumbered open space funds. That is after the fact that this is actually the 7th budget in a row that has reduced the open space tax. And so the county right now is really starting to look at, well, what is the future of the open space tax? A number of municipalities have shared with us that they would like to see the tax be amended slightly so that the funds can be utilized to maintain the open space that we currently have. Other towns have mentioned, no, we think you should keep it the way it is. Other municipalities have said, no, we think you should cut it completely. But so I'd really like, at the end of this, to get some input from you as to what you believe the open space tax should be and whether or not you've seen the same that we have with just the amount of open space out there decreasing. The number of applications that have come in for funds has really plummeted. And so that's why we've been decreasing
From my
it.
perspective, if I may jump in.
Absolutely, you can jump in whenever.
Maintenance of the open space that we currently have, as well as development, which is what we did with our own open space, development of the open space which has already been purchased.
Yes.
So whether it's recreational facilities, trails, that kind of stuff. In Mount Olive, from my perspective, we're not looking to purchase any more open space.
Okay.
Unless it is a specific tract that has some connection to other open space.
Yes. And I would just say that in doing this, I would say that 75% of the municipalities have said exactly what you just said. So we appreciate the feedback. To continue on, the spending in the 2014 budget is on par with the 2012 level. Our debt over the coming year is going to be reduced $8.3 million. That's going to be a $64 million reduction in 5 years, just shy of 30%. And again, this is all while maintaining the services that we currently provide. On the next page is just a snapshot of county finances going back to 2008. We're really trying to capture from the time the economy went south to now. And what I want to highlight is in 2013 and 14, you'll see that $6.2 million drop and then increase. The vast majority in both years, what that is it is changes in state aid. In 2013, it went down. In 2014, it went up. And specifically the state aid that it is funding for patients in psychiatric facilities. So our big one is Greystone. County residents that are in Greystone, their funds come primarily from the state. 85% of it comes from the state. But rather than pay Greystone directly, the state flows the money through our books. The reason that they do that is because they require us to match it with 15%. But that is entirely formulaic. It is whatever the numbers are the numbers, and so our funds there can change depending on what the census is on any given year. So the majority of the decrease last year and the increase this year was due to that. To continue on, how did we achieve our 0% increase? It's a continuation of practices that we've been doing in the past, which is primarily really trying to reduce the amount of county staff that we have, mostly through attrition. We've continued to do significant restructuring in Morrisview. We did in 2013 form a Morrisview advisory group with a number of different players on it, but some of them being family members of people in that facility. And the reason that we did that is in our restructurings, we want to make sure that the quality of the service doesn't decline. And so far, all of the family members have been very pleased. It has achieved savings without decreasing services. We did a significant restructuring at the Morris County Library this year. We saved $447,000 there. We had 6 longtime staff retire. We didn't replace 4 of them. 2 of them we made into part-time positions, saving a little bit on salary, but also saving on healthcare. In terms of the overall restructuring, the biggest change that we did was we merged the Department of Planning with the Department of Public Works. This was not done primarily to save money. It was really done because the administration believed that there were significant synergies between these 2 departments and it made sense to have them in one. However, it did save a little bit of money, so we did throw that in, a few $100,000. We also did some tinkerings here and there. When a position would become available, when it would open, we wouldn't replace it, we'd rearrange staff. But the net result of all of these tinkerings is that salaries is actually lower in this budget than last year, and that's for the 2nd year in a row that we've achieved that. And the other significant staffing change that the county did was we did outsource the other 3 remaining golf courses. Several years ago, we outsourced 1 of the golf courses. And when we did that, we found the revenues increased and the cost decreased. And we wanted to only do 1 because we wanted to make sure that it worked. But it did. It actually beat our expectations. So we followed up with the other 3 golf courses now. So we have 4 that are outsourced. And the last thing that helped us this year is we had a $1.1 million in additional revenue for the county clerk's office. The county clerk revenue is primarily tied to real estate, and we've seen an uptick in the number of deeds and mortgages, and so our revenue has gone up correspondingly. The next page is a pie chart of county finances where we're investing our funds. And just to give you an idea of what we'd like to do with this pie chart is the capital debt portion of the pie we really want to shrink. And I'll share how we're going to do that in a moment. But that way we're either able to expand other areas or just shrink the pie and give it back through tax decreases. We do have a handful of increases in services and expenditures in this budget. In public safety, we have a number of enhancements to the sheriff's office. We are providing forensics training for all municipal police officers. We have a countywide sheriff's response CERT team, and the state of New Jersey mandated that we do some courthouse security enhancements. We also have another shared service agreement with Morristown, where we are providing them health services, saving them money, and bringing in revenue for us without having to add on additional staff. So it saves both entities taxpayer dollars.
Is there some thought to going to a countywide health services?
We currently, I believe with Morristown, that is number 4. I would say that there has been no discussion with the Freeholder Board about expanding that into really kind of going down that model. Right now, it's really just a handful of Morristown, Morris Plains, the ones that are very centrally located. We're required to have a health department. There are some functions that the county is mandated to do, and so we are sometimes able to save money, but we haven't really explored that option. Is it something that you think we should look
I
into?
don't know that necessarily applicable. I would defer to Councilman Perkins in terms of his longevity on the Board of Health. How many towns do we do, Ray? 5?
6 now, Mr. Mayor.
6. We actually provide health services for 6 different towns. So there is some synergy there in terms of that. I think that's probably our greatest success in terms of shared services.
And Mr. Mayor, 2 of them are not in Morris County.
That is pretty impressive. I think you guys are the most.
You know, we've picked up animal control services. We're up in Byram.
Okay.
So we have animal control services out there. We have Mount Arlington. We have Dover, where we've also trained down there in Spanish for the food handling course, since it's a majority of Spanish-speaking people that are down there. So Frank Wilpert, our health director, has been one of the pioneers at the direction of past mayors in this council on moving to shared services, and he's done a yeoman's job.
It seems to me that that is the one area that shared services is really picked up in terms of, I don't know whether or not it works as a model on a countywide basis, but it certainly worked on a regional basis for us out here.
Interesting. That's good to know. We have a $725,000 increase in our capital improvement fund. This is monies for capital projects that rather than going out and bonding, we pay for with cash. So whether it's down payments or just literally purchasing things in cash, because again, we are attempting to pay down the debt as much as possible, so we felt we should increase there. And then we also have an increase in $200,000 for winter operations. This is on the operating side. When I get to the capital side in a moment, you'll also see we have a significant increase there. And then we have $2 million in state mandated costs that did impact our budget, $859,000 for our share of that psychiatric care that I mentioned before. And then we also have $1 million increase in our pension obligation. And this is significant because, as I said before, we're actually reducing the number of employees. So on a per employee base, this is going up quite rapidly. And so we're watching it closely. Our highlights of our services, we have a $317 million budget. It is a significant amount of money, and we do provide a whole host of services. We continue to provide over 490,000 meals in our senior nutrition program. That's broken up into Meals on Wheels, which is home delivered, and the nutrition sites that we have spread out throughout the county. Morris View remains home to 283 individuals. We have level funding, the same as last year, for County College of Morris, the School of Technology, and the Morris County Park Commission. And then besides being the chairman of the Budget Committee, I'm also the liaison to the Department of Human Services, and we provide a number of other human service programs. On the next page, you'll see public safety services that we provide. We have a whole host of those, and the ones I really want to highlight are the 3 towards the bottom: the Juvenile Detention Center, Youth Shelter, and Medical Examiner's Office. That is a shared service that we do, one with 3 counties and the other with a total of 4 counties. We are the host in each of those situations. The people come to us because we're significantly larger than Warren County, Sussex County, so they come to us. But all of us save money. The next page is getting into the 2014 capital budget. We're really focusing on roads and bridges. We have had the winter from hell. We have $14.2 million going for roads and bridges. That's broken up $7.5 million for bridges, $6.1 million for roads. We get a significant amount of money, as I'm sure you do, from both the federal and state governments for this. In terms of county dollars for roads, we have $2.2 million going to that. That is a 55% increase over last year. And just 3 years ago, we actually were all the way down to $745,000. And so now in 3 years, we've gone up to $2.2 million. That's something that I noticed when I got onto the board, that we were really getting light on how much we were putting towards roads. And I think now, in particular, the reason we felt increasing at 55% was because we have had such a bad winter, we needed to respond. We do also have additional pothole repair equipment. There's actually been some articles on that recently. We have $2.5 million going towards law and public safety. Education, $2.1 million for CCM, $1.3 million for VOTEC, and then $1 million for the Park Commission and Morrisview. Overall, though, our debt should be able to go down. And so why are we able to spend more money on roads and bridges yet simultaneously pay down debt? It's, in my opinion, because we are fortunate that previous freeholder boards have been very aggressive at maintaining our major facilities. So when you look at the big, major, expensive facilities, the jail, administration and records building, things of that nature, they are relatively new. And so over the next few years, short to medium term, we should be able to continue to pay down our debt while simultaneously increasing the amount of funds that we put towards the important infrastructure that we have. So we are planning on keeping this elevated funding for the time being. And in fact, right now, we are really attempting to find more money for the roads for this year in 2014. Actually, Freeholder Scapicchio on the Capital Committee is working very hard on that, and I'm pretty confident we're actually going to be able to find some money. But over on the right there, you'll see just how much the county has bonded in each given year, and you will see in 14 that uptick, and that really is because we're trying to put more towards roads given the winter that we just had. On the next page is the trend of where our debt should be over the next few years, and you'll see it bottoms out at $205 million. This is with conservative estimates, so in all likelihood, we should be able to beat this. And the real benefit is that in 4 years, we have a $4.7 million reduction, and then in year 5, we get another drop-off. And so when we start seeing that drop-off in debt service, that's when we'll really start to have tax relief for the citizens. On the next page, we talk oftentimes at the Budget Committee about a strong financial structure. It's one thing to have a good 2014 budget, but if it comes at the expense of 15 and 16, well, then it's not so great. But we have a AAA bond rating, and we are very confident that we are going to be able to maintain that. We feel that way because we do have conservative fiscal policies limiting spending growth. We have reasonable contract terms with our 21 bargaining units. The vast majority are still several years away, and so we have reasonable increases and we can project them. We've also started to address long-term health benefits. We have successfully negotiated with 3 of our unions that for prospective employees, they will no longer get lifetime health benefits. For the most part at the County of Morris, if you work 25 years at the county, you get these lifetime health benefits. So we are now starting to address that because we have $1 billion unfunded liability, so it's really something unsustainable. We are just going to continue to increase our financial position as we pay down debt. And we also have very prudent use of surplus. In 2013, our surplus actually grew by $7.3 million. So we do have that cushion that makes us very confident that we're going to be perfectly fine in the future with our budgets. And then we're also looking at some long-term financial planning, which I'll share with you over the next 2 pages. On this page, you're going to see our staffing, our actual staffing in 11, 12, and 13. What we're really trying to work with our managers on doing is thinking not just about budgeted numbers, but also actual numbers. It's not how much did you budget to spend, it's how much did you actually spend? How many employees do you actually have? And we really want to encourage our managers to think about the budget, but also think about those actuals. And we feel that that's something that hasn't been looked at enough at the county. And so we're really trying to work on that over the course of 2014. We are going to have the department heads review with the Budget Committee on a monthly basis the key financial numbers. And then we are going to, starting this year, review that with the entire Freeholder Board on a quarterly basis. We like to say that it's a committee of 3, but a team of 7. And so we want them to be up to date on all of the budget numbers as the year progresses. And the last page, I would say, is actually in a lot of ways the most important page of this whole presentation because it's the risks that we have for our budget. We've identified several. One of them is managed Medicaid funding reduction potential at Morrisview. The majority of our funding for Morrisview comes from Medicare and Medicaid. And with changes at the federal and state government, we are anticipating that we are going to have reductions over the coming years. So we have started to address it. We have assumed already in this budget that we do get cuts. The reason we did that is if we're wrong, we're that much better off at the end of the year. But if we're right, it won't be such a drastic decrease all at once.
Have you looked at outsourcing?
If you actually look on the last page, we have continued outsourcing. You'll see a big reduction in the number of employees at Morrisview because we have continued to outsource. In this case, in 2013, we outsourced housekeeping. So we're looking at the moment, outsourcing anywhere possible, although we have shied away from getting involved in the direct healthcare component of it.
Is that for political reasons or because it doesn't make financial sense?
I think at the moment we're all relatively new to the Freeholder Board right now. This has been an institution that has been there for a long time, and so we want to work with the Morrisview Healthcare Committee and explore things. Is it something that I think clearly every county has that in their mind, that there are changes. The number of counties that are selling their nursing homes is quite significant. So it's something we're aware of right now. We haven't made any kind of move down that direction now, but we are aware of the fact that it is an expensive business to be in.
Yeah, and getting more expensive as time goes on.
Yes, you are correct. I lost my page. We are attempting to the best of our ability to limit our exposure to the solar bond guarantees. The county several years ago did a solar program, and that is caught up in litigation at the moment. There have been major changes at the state, so we do have some potential exposure there that we are doing our best to limit. We're concerned about the failure by the state legislature to renew the salary cap, as I'm sure everybody is aware that's being fought over right now down there, and the health benefits contribution that expires next year. We've saved significant amounts of money because of those, and if they're not renewed, that is going to have very damaging effects to our county taxes. And then we're also concerned about continued increases in pension costs due to legislative inaction and/or unfavorable arbitration rulings. But we do have a handful of opportunities in this budget. We have saved a significant amount of money in healthcare costs over the last few years, and we are furthering that effort. We're currently looking at going to a self-insurance model. We believe that that's going to be able to save significant amounts of money. And just as an example, we'll save $1 million just because of Obamacare. There's a new special $1 million tax that we get hit with that if we went to self-insurance, we would completely avoid.
Is that something that you've thought about offering to the different municipalities in Morris County as well?
There have been a number of towns, as I've done this presentation, that have asked about that. I think what I would say is initially we want to look at the county. We won't make that decision probably for another 6 or 7 months, but due to the number of mayors and councils that have asked about that, that is something that I will definitely bring up if we decide to go that route about expanding it. Because for one thing, it decreases our risk. The more people who are in the pool, your risk is less. So that is something that could be a shared service and therefore save all of us money.
How would that differ from the HIF? Yeah, the Morris HIF is kind of like a shared service as it is.
It is. And that's why I say we have not started to talk about it, so I'd have to explore how it would be different. Let's see, we're continuing to do operational reviews to achieve efficiencies and savings, the types of things that I mentioned previously. And then the last one's a bit of a hope, but we are hopeful for the passage of the governor's proposals on sick pay and civil service reform. But I think with that, I will open it up to any other questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, anything that you all have.
Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. Hank, just a quick one on your, I guess it's page 4, your zero tax increases, how you achieve those. One of the items was your 1.1 million in additional revenue from the county clerk's office.
Yes.
Most of those, I think you've already said, was in the realty transfer fees.
Yes.
With the governor's push to eliminate those fees, what will that do?
I would support the governor if he were to push for that, because at the end of the day, it is, in some sense, a form of tax increase. As a practical matter, what it would do is we would lose about $5 million in our budget, which we'd have to find and make up. But I think we would be able to work around it. I'm not convinced that it'll actually end up going away, but if the governor was successful, it would be about a $5 million reduction in revenue that we'd have.
And then one last question, Hank, which is just something near and dear to us, the exposure to your solar bonds.
Yes.
That you have out there. I know I've heard and seen some statements by different freeholders that you guys want to completely get away from the solar. I know you've got the litigation for the ones that are already partially completed and are complete. We here in Mount Olive, we're participating in that program. Of course, with the litigation, nothing's happening, and now we're sitting here 2 years later with no solar panels. Is it the intent of the freeholder board, once this litigation is resolved, whether it's to the good or the bad, I mean, you know, we've got liabilities as a county, will you continue to be able to supply those systems to the municipalities that were already quote-unquote approved for this? Or is the thought of the freeholder board to say, once we're done with this, we're finished?
The round 2, the one that's caught up in solar, in litigation at the moment, that will be completed, assuming it's able to be completed with litigation. But we are planning on completing that round, because then we've already bonded for it. So in that sense, the expense has already been incurred, and the expense will be paid for whether the panels are up or not. So it is the intent of the freeholder board to ultimately finish that phase. In terms of a new solar project, the freeholder board will not embark on another third round of solar projects.
Yep. Thank you, Hank.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we thank you for your presentation this evening, and we wish you luck.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, freeholder, for keeping our taxes down.
Thank you.
luck in your reelection bid.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along.
Okay, we have, any questions on the resolutions? We have 16.
Mr. President?
Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. On Resolution 1, the enhancement of the All Veterans Memorial, I don't, I had a telephone call and see where we now have what appears to be a sketch in our packet, which points out, which I believe is what the addition or modification to the All Veterans Memorial is supposed to look like. I received a call from Mrs. Ehrman, who had concerns with the placement of our proposed 9/11 memorial. And there was talk about wanting to put up benches and a pavilion, which may or may not be in that area. And while I fully support the All Veterans Memorial as a veteran, also as an American, I support it, I would like to know what the final limits of land in Turkey Brook that will be allocated to the entire All Veterans Memorial is going to be. It will not preclude me from voting affirmatively on this resolution, but I would surely like to see, in the not-too-distant future, at least a slightly better sketch than this that shows what's going to happen over on that right-hand side, over by where right now the gazebo is at, as well as where the 9/11 memorial was to be planted. So if, Sean, if you can get that through to Mrs. Ehrman, to ask her to please give us some indication about how far away she plans on finalizing this thing down the road, which I think will give our Parks, Buildings, and Ground crew a better opportunity to be able to pick a more appropriate spot for where the 9/11 memorial will go, and any other future memorials that may need to be placed over in that general vicinity. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other questions on the resolutions? Hearing none. Old business, any old business?
Ordinance, Mr. President.
Pardon?
Ordinance, Mr. President.
Oh, I'm sorry. The ordinance has been removed. That ordinance is removed.
Everyone has an amended
Should have
itinerary.
it.
In your amended packet, the
See it?
ordinance.
Removed.
Oh, right there.
Sherry asked for it to be
Yeah.
removed. There was something that she had to do today, and she was unable to complete it, so.
It's here.
I thought that was an addition, I'm sorry.
Yep,
It's okay.
got it.
Again, any old business? New business? Anyone from the public wish to be heard? If not, I'll close it to the public and adjourn to the public meeting. Open Public Meetings Act statement.
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same. Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Frente?
Here.
Mrs. Laybow? Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Nacastro?
Here.
Mr. Mania?
Here. Okay. Approval of minutes of previous meetings, Mr. Amianda, please.
Yes, Mr. President. I make a motion for approval of minutes of previous meetings.
Hold on 1 second.
We only have the public meeting for you to approve. The workshop has not been completed, so you're only approving.
You're only going to be approving the public meeting, not the workshop.
Okay.
That's Daniel's motion.
Second.
It's good? Did you make that motion?
Yes.
Who's second?
Alex.
Alex.
Alex second.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Frente?
Abstain?
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. That's already done, that, yeah. All right, we got letters of correspondence. We got, I believe, 11,
12.
sorry, 12, Morris County. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll go to ordinances for public hearing. I open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 10-2014, entitled An Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Mount Olive, establishing recreation fees for various township-sponsored recreational activities. Anyone from the public? Close it to the public. A motion,
Mr. Frente? Yes, Mr. Frente.
Mr. Franti, would you make that motion, please?
Sure, I'd like to move for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 10-2014.
Second.
Any discussion? Adam, would you please poll?
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Ordinance number 10-2014 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. Next is ordinance number 11-2-14. I open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 11-2014, entitled Bond Ordinance Providing for Various Capital Improvements in and by the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $4,463,600, therefore, and authorize the issuance of $3,956,116 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. Mr. Perkins, would you, pardon? Anyone from the public wish to be heard? If not, I'll close it to the public. Mr. Perkins, would you, introduce that, please?
Yes, Mr. President, I move for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 11-2014.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Ordinance number 11-2014 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. I open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 12-2014, entitled Bond Ordinance Providing for Various Improvement to the Water Utility in and by the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $650,000 therefore, and authorizing the issue of $617,500 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. Mr. Perkins, I'm going to call you again. I opened to the public. Anyone from the public wish to be heard? If not, I'll close it to the public. Mr. Perkins?
Thank you again, Mr. President. I move for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 12-2014.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Fuente?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Okay, we're on ordinance. Ordinance number 12, 2014 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. Just an announcement that number 13, 2014 has been removed from the agenda. Yeah, we have 16 resolutions. Anyone wish to move to non-consent?
Just a little clarification, number 16, I don't know if it matters, but it says click it of or ticket, should be or, I assume.
Any others wish to be removed to non-consent? Anyone from the public on the consent resolutions? Any council comments? Roll call?
Make a motion.
Make a motion? Need a motion?
Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve consent resolutions 1 through 16.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Fuente?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes on 1 through 15, and no on 16.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Mr. Amianda, would you move the consent motions?
Yes, Mr. President. I make a motion for approval of bill list PDF from a PDF list.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Amianda?
Yes.
Mr. Fuente?
Yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes. Okay, administrative reports.
I'll start, if you don't mind, Council President. First and foremost, we'd like to wish Sherry a speedy recovery, as I said at the beginning of the meeting. This Saturday is a very busy day in Mount Olive. And I think about 9 o'clock, the Do or Die 5K is taking place up at Turkey Brook. We're expecting probably close to 1,000 participants when all is said and done. You can compare that to the first 5K that we ran 2 years ago, where we ended up with about 300 to 400 participants. Currently, we have 660 participants who are scheduled, and the weather looks very promising. Last I saw was weather in the 70s and partly sunny for the morning. So we're really, really excited about that. There will be on-site registration, and we wanted to thank all of the sponsors who have made the event possible. Also this Saturday, later in the day, starting at about 4:30, but called for 5 o'clock, is Mount Olive Baseball Softball Opening Day. I expect to see most of you up there if available for the activities. As you know, we get to throw out the first pitch, and I can say that nobody could be more embarrassed than I was last year as I bounced one in the dirt. Such is life. Something very near and dear to my own heart is that Team 11 and Team 193 from Mount Olive High School Robotics, which is the varsity team, Mort 11, and the beta team, Mort 193, both qualify for and are currently in transit to the national competition in St. Louis. And we wish them well over the rest of this week in that competition. If anyone has an interest, they can contact me. I can give them the site where the tournament is actually streamed live. And it's very exciting to watch. So please get in touch with me if you have an interest in watching it streamed over the internet. Monday, April 28, 2014. That's this coming Monday, is also a very busy day. We will be starting the build for Mount Playmore in the morning. I don't know if any of you have been up to Turkey Brook. I know John has been up there, but the concrete has been poured, and I guess it is now hardened, and we're ready to start actually building the tile line. We're really excited about that. There'll be a number of different contractors. How many contractors are we expecting?
2, but we're supplemented with a lot of Mount Olive volunteers and workers, and it's going to be busy.
The one thing that I would say to all of the elected officials, that you may receive some feedback from some of the athletic groups in terms of some of the minor field maintenance that we normally do. Because our resources are going to be allocated to the build, some of the things like the trimming along the fence lines and the like will take a secondary role during the 10 days or so that we're actually building the park. So I would ask that all of us be ambassadors for the township, and if someone criticizes the condition of our fields, I'm talking about in a minor way, that you help to explain what our employees are doing over the next 10 days. Also on Monday, April 28th, first I would like to also recognize the Lions Club for being recognized at the next school board meeting on Monday, April 28th, for their dedication and service to the community and children of Mount Olive. Many of you probably know that the Lions Club provides eye screening for the different elementary schools, and also one of their other charitable events is to provide the first bulletproof vest for our police officers when they come online, in addition to all of the different activities that the Lions Club does on behalf of the visually impaired. Monday, April 28th is also the ribbon cutting ceremony at the Morris Canal Greenway Braille Trail, Jivenon Braille Trail. That's scheduled for 2 o'clock. Sponsored by Jivenon in conjunction with the Mount Olive Township. Special thanks to Sean Canning, John Geiger, Frank Wilbur Jr., Radar, Jim Lynch for their continued dedication to the project. And also Lisa Pignataro / Brett. Sorry. Lisa Brett. I should know out of anybody. Also this week, coming up Thursday, May 1st, we'll begin our Power Wheel series. Thank you to 46 Chevrolet and DTA Automotive for being the presenting sponsors of this event. Not only are we so appreciative of our top sponsors, but also recognize those who are continuously donating and sponsoring events and programs. For example, Dorsey and Semero, Keller Group, Colleen Leibau, Mount Olive News, Jonah Castro for helping us get the word out online as well as in print. So we've got a very, very busy week coming up in Mount Olive Township with many wonderful activities and long-lasting improvements to the township. And I would just finish by saying, if you have the opportunity to drive around town, you can see the improvements that are occurring in town, both from a township perspective and from a business development perspective. Siemens is motoring along and is looking to speed up their actual coming online with their building from what they had originally anticipated as December. They're now looking at September. It's important to the township because we don't start collecting additional taxes from Siemens until they get the CO to occupy that building, which is tremendous. Also throughout town, if you have a chance, go look at the old Blue Atlas property, Drakesbrook Park, which Patillo has successfully regraded, and they're at the point now where they're going to seed the fields. And because of other work that happened in town at the same time that Patillo was involved with, not only are we getting 2 lacrosse fields at Blue Atlas, they were able to use topsoil from the Flanders Swim Club site and create a 3rd field that will benefit all of the different sporting organizations throughout the town. Again, going to the swim club site, you can see that they're ready to start actually installing the turf field, and the bubble will be next, which will be a huge benefit. Now Playmore, Fratelli Beretta, Marvel-Land is moving forward. The township is really moving in a very positive direction, especially in light of many of the environmental restrictions that were placed on the township by way of the Highlands. We have really maximized what is going on in town, and we will continue to look for further development at the BASF site and the 57 acres that the township owns adjacent to that site is the next area for development, commercial development. I'm also in the process right now of looking at the possibility of actually creating in a building in town on Sand Shore Road and Stevens State Park Road, a indoor recreational facility that would be operated by Mount Olive Township and a profit type operation which would benefit the township greatly. So we have many projects in the fire right now, and we have plans for many other opportunities.
Thanks,
Mr.
Mr. President. Yeah, I have a couple of things on the operational side. The next meeting, the Land Conservancy would like to come and just address council and tell them all the good things they've been doing. I know tomorrow they have a minor meeting and ceremony at the community garden, and they're pretty much filled up and booked up down there. So that's been a success, and they've been a great partner for the township. We had a safety committee meeting today with the GIF, like we normally do our quarterly safety meetings. And the one thing that really jumped out, and I briefed the mayor on this before, and I'm hoping to have a formal memo to council later in the spring. But the workers' comp, again, knock on wood, since we've gone to automation, the vast majority, over 95% of our workers' comp injuries have been lifting related, and primarily out of the sanitation. We were the third worst in Morris County. And when we say workers' comp, it's kind of a nebulous as workers' comp. Well, that comes out of our budget. 60 days and 70% of our salary and wage come out of our budget. So whenever we get a worker injured, the first 60 days, 70% of that employee's salary and wages come right out of our budget. So we're losing that work for those 2 months. Sometimes we have to replace them with temps. But that salary is paid right out of what we raise in our yearly budget. So it's important we identify this. We've been making the proactive steps, and again, knock on wood, I hate to speak ahead of time, but since we've gone to automation with the one-armed bandits, we haven't had one lifting-related injury, not one. Now, last year, we had 7, and those days, we counted them up today, they were well in excess of 200 labor days. So it's significant. We're finishing up the tipping on the back of some of the other trucks that we're using for recycling and grass and some of the heavy items. So that transition is well underway. We're hoping to be fully automated when it comes to our lifting, not just our trash, but our recycling, leaves, grass, metals by July 1st. So we're hoping to make these workers' comp injuries a thing of the past, or at least minimize them. Gentleman was here 2 weeks ago about the property on the bottom of Johnson Ave and Route 46. Pleased to tell council we are meeting with that property owner tomorrow at 2:30, and we're going to have some encouraging news for him and also for that concerned resident and council. We have the Highlands redevelopment zone. There's avenues for this property owner to take that property down and still keep their impervious coverage and get rid of that eyesore. So we're hoping tomorrow meeting will be productive. Open Space Committee has been working closely with our PB&G personnel. We actually assigned one of our newer employees. He's a big trails advocate. He's going to be the liaison with the Open Space Committee. He's been working specifically with Dolores Wack and the trails. What they did was they walked together for the Orange Trail. We have a lot of blowdowns since, believe it or not, since Hurricane Sandy. We're identifying how we're going to improve that trail post Mount Playmore, and that'll link up to the White Trail all throughout Turkey Brook. So we've kind of teamed up and joined forces with our volunteer committees. 2 other things: we are exploring transition to single stream recycling. Currently, we run commingled recycling. We think it may be more beneficial for the township to finally go to single stream. What that's going to do is that's going to benefit the utility even more. We're already seeing a downward trend in our tipping fees with the one-armed bandits. Our tipping fees that are going to the MUA in terms of garbage. We have Mike Zarek, our foreman, going out there and basically educating people that are complaining one-on-one, hey, this should not be in your waste stream, this should be in your recycling stream. Our tipping numbers have been going down over the winter. They're down from what they were in 2013 and what they were in 2012. If we get to the point where we can go single stream, you're going to see those tipping numbers go down. It's $96 a ton, thereabout, that we run up to the MUA for tipping fees. On the backside, we get paid for that, so it's addition by subtraction. You're going to see a benefit on that. I hope to have Tim Quinn here before council within the next month or two to further that, and we're kind of eyeing up maybe midsummer, if not the fall. That's all I have on the day-to-day. So it's been busy.
What does that mean, single stream?
Everything together, right? Right now, we separate fiber from our plastics 1 through 7, cans and metals. We think we have the ability, we're negotiating with a vendor now that'll take everything single stream. We don't get the return on fiber like we would normally by separating, but the $96 a ton or thereabout that we save from taking it to the transfer station, it's a huge savings in the utility. So it makes, and you know, it makes recycling even more easy. If everybody can just go, boom, and it's, you know, fiber, cans, plastics, metals, and it goes in one can, and they don't have to separate it. It makes it that much easier, and it just takes away the habit of throwing a garbage can, you know, throwing the other can.
Ray?
Thank you, Mr. President. Sean, would we be looking at containers almost identical to what we have for the green for regular trash to
Yeah,
have the recycling?
I'd like to, I was briefing the mayor to that, over that at dinner tonight. The original plan was to wait 2 years once we got down to the one-armed bandit, but if we see savings sooner, we could certainly cross that bridge. I know it would make it easier, and I'd really like to do that. I'm kind of reluctant financially to do that this year. We have to take a look into 15 if we can financially go there. It would make it easier, and I think you'd get a return on it. But again, I don't know the numbers in front of me, and I'd have to see, you know, an analysis to say, yeah, that's sound.
You know, one of the hardest things that I've experienced over the years is I don't put my paper out most of the time because it's raining or it's snow. You know, something about Mondays, which is my collection day, it always rains. So I don't want to put the bags, you know, with all the recycling paper and cardboard out there because it just gets wet and it falls apart and it's all over the roadway. So having them in a container would definitely be beneficial, you know, if we can, especially if we can put things in. I've noticed too on some of the Facebook things that Ziploc or Glad bags is talking about recycling. If your sandwich bags, you know, or your freezer bags, or as long as they're clean, that there's certain drop-off places around where you can drop them off for recycling. Is there a dollar benefit in there that you can take a look at?
You know, the plastic market's so low. The biggest benefit is taking the plastics out of the solid waste stream, if you can get that. But the market on the commingles right now, it's like maybe $3 a ton. There's not much. The big benefit we have is not paying the $96 a ton.
Exactly.
On that, that's where we're really, you know, reap the rewards on that.
Excellent.
I think our effort really needs to be to get more of the fiber product into the recycling stream.
Yeah, paper plates and all that.
Everything that we can, we get a double benefit from it in terms of not having to pay tipping fees and also getting some financial.
Excellent. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any old business? New business? Any legal matters, Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing specific tonight. The administration continues to keep us busy with bids, resolutions, and various research issues and projects. So thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
All good work. Nothing else.
Thank you, Jeff.
I actually direct Sean to send all that stuff to your office.
Thank you,
Let
Mike.
Fred know.
Council reports. The annual Board of Ed?
Yes, Mr. President. The next board meeting is on Monday, April 28. And on that day, the board will hold public hearing on 2014 to 2015 school district budget on Monday, which is April 28, 2014 at 6:30 p.m. at the Mount Olive Middle School, 160 Wolf Road, Bad Lake. Funding of programs, services, and core curriculum content standards will be discussed. And that's what the budget is all about. Information on the budget, programs, and services that the district provides is available from the local district office. So you are all welcome to come to the public hearing for your input in the school budget. Thank you.
I saw online that someone had posted that Larry Reynolds was applying for a job in Fayetteville. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw that, and it's not official yet, but it was Mount Olive Chronicle had a headline that he is applying for a job to live in the district. But his response, they asked him, and he said that he was not sure he's getting it, so we have to wait until we hear an official word from him.
Thank you.
So it is true. In other words, Mr. Mayor, it is true. He's applying. I guess he has had enough. Yes.
Well, it's just like any other type of job like that where you benefit from continued, you do your years, you make your mark, and then you parlay it into the next job. Hope that there's some, I assume he's doing it either for salary increase or there's some benefit in terms of what he would be able to accomplish in that school district personally.
Right. Good.
Mr. Ferranti, Environmental Committee, Lake Issues, and Library Board.
The lake has scheduled their spring cleanup. It will be on Saturday, May 17th from 9 to about 11. They will be cleaning from the boathouse all the way up to the beach using the 46 shoreline. And library meets next month.
Mr. Perkins, Safety Committee, MOTV.
Thank you, Mr. President. Safety Committee meets next month. We'll have a tabletop display by Mr. Cerrone. That will be our second meeting so far. And Mount Olive Television Committee, we are trying to get the committee together to actually have a formal meeting. Once we have that meeting, I will be reviewing the ordinance with the committee members that are present. We will come back with any recommendations to the council for things that we feel may actually that need to be changed to make the committee a little bit more viable. I don't think there's that many members of the committee. I know, recollection serves me right, it was set up for 9 members and with various degrees of involvement, and I think I've seen responses from, correct me if I'm wrong, 3. So it's not a very large committee. I kind of venture to say, Mr. President, that it's like when we started the Mount Olive Pride Committee. We started out with 15 people and it dwindled down to 3 of us. So we'll have to get back to everybody after we have our first meeting. I do want to try to coordinate. I know Ms. Brett has been doing a nice job of coordinating with Scott Gaskell, our IT. We are getting the meetings. Our council meetings are put up within 1 or 2 days onto the township website. They're also being pushed through on the MOTV, the mayor's page, and the township Facebook. What we need to do is be able to try to coordinate to get it actually onto the television a little bit quicker for the residents. Most of the time we've got just about a 1-month lag. I mean, the whole idea for the TV was to have these things in a little more timely, and that may be a matter of when we do meet to try to coordinate with the programming officials from Cablevision to try to pick an appropriate time. I'm watching this thing at 8 o'clock at night. I'm getting older and I'm getting tired at 8 o'clock, and I know some of these seniors would probably rather be watching this thing sometime during the day to see what's happening with their township officials and how we're running their township for them. So it's a work in progress, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins.
I ask Mr. Perkins a question. Has
Of
your
course.
life come down to the fact now that you stay up to watch the council meetings?
Sad to say, Mr. Mayor, yeah, it's getting about there.
How do you look? You look good?
I don't know. It's I don't typically watch the whole thing, but it's on there. You flip on at 8 o'clock and there's the council meeting. You're going, okay.
More importantly, how do I look?
You look marvelous.
Mr. Roman, Open Space and Recreation.
Open Space met last week, and at that meeting we were discussing about doing the White Trail and that they were going to be GPSing it on the 17th with the Land Conservancy. I'm pleased to hear that it has been accomplished. Also, Open Space now has a Facebook page. I invite all those interested to like us. And also, from the Open Space Committee, they would like to ask the administration if they could make a policy that when new developments or other acquisitions are brought up, that they would consider the open space when almost any issue comes up, even if just to keep them in the loop. I also, on the 15th, April 15th, I attended my first Musconetcong Watershed Association meeting. I found it extremely informative. It's a very involved group from all facets. There's a member there of the Forestry Service, and also was informed that the MUA property that was for sale with the dams that had fall through. There are now 5 potential new buyers that are well aware that there are dams on there and they would have to mitigate them. So hopefully that property will be sold. Also, possibly in 2015, any townships within the watershed that may be having stormwater related problems can seek matching grants. So as more information becomes available, I would pass that along to the administration. Also this last week, not to jump ahead, but there was a planning board meeting on which I attended, and we discussed the possibility of the boardwalk in the Hackettstown, the redevelopment zone along 46. Was pleased with the progress, and we're looking, hopefully that zone will be redeveloped and will bring about new ratables in that area. On recreation, the only thing of note, the mayor already mentioned, is this Saturday is opening day, and I plan not to commit the error that the mayor did last year. And that's all I have.
Mr. Nicastro, Board of Health
Yep.
and Legislative Committee.
Board of Health was canceled this month, as I mentioned. We have a meeting scheduled in May. Legislative Committee, I do have a meeting with the legislators on Wednesday in Sparta. If anyone has any questions, concerns, or issues, if you would like to email me before Wednesday, I will bring it up with them when I see them on Wednesday.
Meetings in Sparta?
Yeah.
At their office?
Yeah.
I'm right around the corner
All right.
where I work, so I may
There you go.
stop
There you
over.
go.
You got a date?
Okay, Planning Board, Alex already made that report for me. God bless him. We both attended that same meeting. Just a point of information that the Fratelli Beretta job has already started construction. Vollers is up there doing the site work already, so things are progressing rather well. Just, if I may, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the 11-year-old that just passed away in town, the Ronco family. They live directly across from Sand Shore School. She passed away from a neurological disease, of which her little brother also has, and he will probably succumb to the same disease. It's unfortunate, but both parents are carriers. And the Knights of Columbus made a contribution. They're going to get a wheelchair for this little guy to run a race. And the Knights made a donation, and as president of the Italian Club, we've made a substantial donation. So all I ask is keep the family in your prayers. It's got to be tough losing a child, and know that another child is about the same problem.
Lisa and I attended the wake. Very sad. Yeah. Fortunately, the third child does not have the same
Yep.
medical issue.
I guess no one knows what it is to lose a child unless you go through it. It's got to be devastating. Anyway, keep them in your prayers. Anyone from the public wish to be heard? If not, I'll close it to the public. Any other council comments? Mr. Amianda? Mr. Ferrante? Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to briefly recognize that today was Earth Day, Hopefully, everybody takes into consideration our planet, its life-sustaining gifts that it gives to us. Whether you believe in global warming and greenhouse gas effect and carbon footprints, it really doesn't matter. I think as a human being, I've been in the energy conservation field now for quite some years, and my job is energy efficiency, and mostly I look at that as a cost savings, as a benefit. If it has a byproduct where it's reducing gases and supposedly stopping global warming, then all the better. But what I would caution people is, as we continue, you begin to look at the population of the Earth, and you look at the amount of fossil fuels that are available, which are not a renewable source, that we keep depleting and taking from the ground and taking, and we have more and more and more population continues to grow, which means that they have to utilize the natural resources that are there, the water that we're running out of, the clean air that we're running out of, the fossil fuels that we're running out of. One would well imagine that those are things that on Earth Day you ought to be considering, is what part are we doing? And I'm proud to say that here in Mount Olive Township, and with the support of our mayor, some of our past mayors and council members, we have done, along with Ms. Lashway, I know back in 2008 when we started to try to reduce paper and do things more electronically, we're doing our part, and I would ask that everybody do your part to preserve, conserve, and enjoy this planet that God has put us on. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Roman?
I have nothing.
Mr. DeCastro? I have nothing. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Opposed?
I.
Second.
Thank you.